And welcome everybody to Sight and Sound's by now annual Vispero webinar with our friends from Vispero, where we're looking at all that's new in JAWS 2022. And this is our second webinar of the day. Today we had a webinar Wednesday event earlier today, so we're back for more and we're delighted to be back. My name is Stuart Lawler from Sight and Sound Technology. My colleague James Everson from Sight and Sound Technology is also here, and my colleague Fionnuala Murphy from Sight and Sound Technology is here. And we're delighted to have our colleagues from Vispero, Eric, who needs no introduction, I think, and Jan Bloem and Mohammed Laachir, who are going to tell us all about the new and exciting features in JAWS 2022. And we want to hear your questions and comments as well. So you can do that by raising your hand if you want, by pressing Alt and Y, or click the raise hand button if you're on a mobile device. Or you can also type in the chat by pressing Alt and H, or access the chat option on your mobile device. And James and Fionnuala will be keeping an eye on hands and chats. And I am delighted to hand over to Mr. Eric Damery to start us off and give us a bit of an insight. Eric, you've just come through a development cycle and launched JAWS last week, and I'm sure everybody is very relieved that a pretty big project, or at least the first part of a big project, is out of the way.
Yeah, that's right. And thank you, Stuart. And thanks for putting this together and getting everybody online and ready to talk. It is a busy time of the year for everybody, but you know, kind of the crunch is over usually as we approach the end of October each year, and so we panic about making sure all of the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. But as usual, the team did a great job, and we pushed the release out. I can't even remember when it was, maybe a week ago yesterday, I guess. We rolled it out. We had a 2-month beta cycle. We got a lot of great feedback. We added some features in during the course of that beta cycle. And today we're here to kind of talk about the main things that are in. That's what we'll try and cover, and then open it up for questions. I hope a lot of the folks that are on have had an opportunity to install the software. Maybe you haven't found everything that we've included. If you didn't read the what's new, some of these things wouldn't jump out at you. So as we describe and talk through things, maybe we'll share with you the way you can try them out. So that'll be beneficial. The first thing that people should notice, and I'll just remind everybody about this, we made a change over the course of the 2020 and 2021 releases to start notifying you when a new version of the software was available. Normally, we only told you when an update was available, but now we actually inform our 2021 customers that the 2022 release has come out. Now, as part of that message, we also try and detect if you have a license installed on your computer that is properly authorized on your computer to allow that version to run. And if your key is not up to date, we tell you. Now, keep in mind, if you do talk to someone, you may not have had this situation, but there are users out there that run across this where, you know, they contacted Sight and Sound during the course of the summer. They bought an SMA, they got their summer special, and they added the SMA to their license, but they never updated the key on their local machine. So even though they've purchased the upgrade and the upgrade is available to them, their license key on their machine doesn't know it. So when they got the notice about 2022, they were probably told that they weren't licensed for it in that case, and it causes some confusion. And then there are often people who aren't licensed for it, but here there's an upgrade or a new version, and they go ahead and they download it, assuming they're supposed to be able to get it and have it work, and it doesn't work for them, and they call support, and that's when they have to break the news to them that you can run it in 40-minute mode, but you're not entitled to the version unless you buy the SMA. So keep that all in mind. This was an SMA upgrade, as we do each year at the end of October. Once you've installed the software, the first thing you would have noticed this year, if you're running JAWS or Fusion, it automatically brought your settings from a prior version. If that prior version is still installed on the computer, it brought those settings directly into the new version. So you didn't have to go in and set up voice settings or any configuration files that you might have done. And even if you had a Braille display set up, it automatically brought in your Braille display and gave you access to it immediately in the new version. That's a big change. We hadn't done that in the past. We had a migration tool that you could run, but you still had to do it manually, and you were not able to get your Braille settings. So you still had to go set up a Braille display. So we made some nice changes there, and I think overwhelmingly people have enjoyed it, and it helped them. Now, in the event somebody did the auto migration and they've decided, well, I really want to start clean. I messed up my other version and I just want to start over again with this one. It's very simple to do now. In JAWS, you can go to the options menu and you'll find a choice there now called Restore Factory Defaults. If you choose that, you'll be prompted, are you sure you want to do it? You say yes, and that will wipe out your user settings that you had for the 2020 version only. It'll leave 2021 alone, and it will actually get you started over again in the startup wizard. So it'll be just like you installed on a clean machine. And so that's a little bit about the install. I hope that procedure went well for everybody. There are features in JAWS where you can export settings. So if you've set up JAWS, let's say on one of your computers, and you got it all set up just the way you want it, and now you've got another computer and you're installing JAWS on it, you'd just like to bring all those settings that you did from the first one to the second one, there's a way to do that in the utility menu. There's an import-export feature there where you can export your settings from one computer and then import them on the other, and that works quite well. You might want to give that a try. And the next feature that we're going to talk about today is one that Mohammed, who's with us, was very integral in getting this feature done and getting it done right. He worked with another engineer or two in the company, but we brought Mohammed in and we thought we'd let him talk about the sound splitting feature. So Mohammed, I'll turn it over to you in the Netherlands.
Thank you, Eric, and hello to everyone. My name is Mohammed Laachir. I am a developer for JAWS, occasionally for Zoomtext and Fusion as well, but mainly for JAWS. So I write code. That's basically my job, and I'm here to tell you guys about a couple of features that I wrote for the 2022 release. The first one is indeed the sound splitter, which is a very interesting feature and a very useful feature, we feel. Something that's been asked for quite a bit. And it basically works like this. So if you are in a webinar like you are right now, and an email comes in or something comes up and you have to do something on the side, things can get very confusing because JAWS will be talking, I will be talking, and now you can't hear either JAWS or me because we are talking over each other. And you could alleviate that somewhat with the volume feature that we built into JAWS 2021. So you could press insert space V and then J, and then lower JAWS volume independent of your computer. So you can have JAWS talk really softly and still hear what's been said on the webinar. But we took this a step further in the new feature, and this one will allow you to actually split sound. So you guys can try this out right now. If you have 2022 installed, you are in a webinar, so it's a perfect place to do it. And you do it by pressing insert space for getting into the key layers. You press V for getting into the volume layer, and then you press B for balance. And when you do that, you can actually press 3 keys. The first one is the left arrow key. That will put JAWS in your left ear and all the other applications in your right ear. So if you do that right now, you'll be hearing JAWS in your left ear, you'll hear me in your right ear. And if anything comes up, so if an email comes in, you will hear the Outlook sound as well in your in your left ear, your right ear, sorry. The next one is the right arrow, and it basically does the same thing, but the other way around. So what it will do is it will put JAWS in your right ear and me in your left ear. And now you can basically do the same, but if you prefer to have other sounds in your left ear rather than your right ear, you can press right arrow. The last key that you can press is up arrow, and up arrow will restore everything to what it should be. So we'll restore everything to its balanced state. And now I'll be talking in both your ears. JAWS will be talking in both your ears as well. This will also happen if you close JAWS. So if you turn JAWS off while sound is split, we will restore the sound and then close ourselves, because otherwise things might get left in a weird place. So those are the ways you can restore sound. If up arrow for some reason does not work, which it should, because it always works, at least for me, and I've not yet heard any complaints that it doesn't, you can always close JAWS and things should get back to normal as well. You can also press question mark when in the balance layer. So insert space VB, that's the balance layer. If you press question mark, help will come up and we will tell you all about the keystrokes. So if you want to review those, you can do it that way. You can also find them in Command Searcher. I don't know if you guys know about that, but Command Searcher is insert space and then J, and it will allow you to actually search every command that we have in JAWS, keyboard command, and this one will be in there as well. So if you type in balance or sound balance, you will find it, and you can review the commands at your leisure as well there. So this is a very neat feature. I'm pretty proud of it. I worked on it together with another colleague, like Eric said, Andy Smith, and I think that it works quite well. It's pretty neat, and it's pretty easy to use as well.
You talk a little bit about headsets and what people might think about if it's not working for them. How might they recognize that it's not working?
Certainly, yes. So there are some issues that could arise with headsets, mainly Bluetooth headsets. And the reason for that is that Bluetooth headsets tend to become mono once you go into a meeting. So if you start using your microphone with your Bluetooth headset, so that's the built-in microphone in the Bluetooth headset, your headset usually switches to mono sound, which means we can no longer split sound because everything is the same. So we can no longer say, hey, put JAWS into your left ear and other sound into your right ear, because there is no longer a left and a right ear. There's only sound. So that might be a problem. And if that happens, you might not be able to use this feature. Now, I'm using a Bluetooth headset myself, and the way I resolved this problem was by buying an external microphone. So that's one way you could resolve this problem. But another way, and actually the way we recommend you use this feature, is with an USB enabled headset, so a headset with a USB dongle. And that will allow you to use the feature regardless. So you won't have to think about anything else. You can just plug in your headset and use it. We actually have a blog over on blog.freedomscientific.com. It talks about this feature, and it will also tell you which headsets this have been tested with. Now, this list is not exhaustive. There are other headsets with which this would work as well, but it's definitely a set of headsets that you can look at. And if you're thinking of purchasing one, you can choose among one of those headsets. But any old USB-enabled headset should work.
And also the traditional wired headsets work also. Well,
yes,
also
yes, they should work as well.
The old conventional ones.
Yes, the 3.5 millimeter jack headsets should work too. Yes, that's correct. So really the only workarounds you would need is if you have a Bluetooth headset and you think, well, it's a pretty good headset, don't want to get rid of it. The way I resolved this problem was by buying an external microphone and actually setting up my apps such as Zoom and Teams to use the headphones function on my headset and the microphone itself, and then I can actually split sound. So talking about headsets actually, and especially Bluetooth headsets, we have built another feature into JAWS. And this feature was in there already, but basically, we changed the UX for it. You can still do it the old way, but there is a new way as well, and that's changing sound cards. Now, changing sound cards might be a bit misleading. What we mean by that is changing the device that sound comes out of. So you might have a headset, you might have some speakers plugged into your computer. Your computer might have some native speakers put in there. And you can have JAWS come out of any of those speakers. Usually the way you do that is go to the utilities menu, go to sound cards, and then you can choose which one you want. But we wanted to make that a lot easier. And the main reason for that is, again, because of Bluetooth headsets. And this might get a little bit technical, but Bluetooth headsets are basically two headsets in one. So you've got the headphones that you use when you listen to music or you do anything else, and your microphone at that point is turned off. And anytime your microphone gets turned on, you actually use a different device. And that's the mono device. So that's also the reason why you cannot split sound to the left or to the right. And this mono device this mono device has its microphone enabled. But of course, you can't hear JAWS anymore if your computer all of a sudden switches to the mono device. So now you're in a meeting, you're listening to the meeting, and you want to do something, but JAWS is silent. And that's a problem. You can no longer go to the utilities menu unless you know exactly the key sequence to do it. And then you have to be lucky that it actually works. So we worked out another way to do it. And you can do it by going into the sound cards layer. And this one's pretty similar to the balance layer. So the keys for these are insert space, V, and then followed by a C for sound card. And you can then press two keys. So you can press either the down arrow or the up arrow. And what JAWS will do is actually it will go to the next or the previous sound card and it will attempt to talk. And so now you can press down arrow, you can wait a moment, see if JAWS talks, and if it talks and you can hear it fine, you are actually on the right sound card. And you can now use JAWS again without problems. So this should help you when you get into a bind where your computer all of a sudden switched sound cards and you no longer have any speech because you went into a meeting or you plugged in some headsets and you can no longer hear what's going on. So these are two sound features that we added to JAWS 2022. We hope they're useful. We've heard pretty good things about them so far. I personally like them. I use them a lot. So yeah.
If I may add, Mo and Eric, this is what I experienced in the time that you did a lot of presentations and you connected your computer to a projector, and that your JAWS output was also going through this projector, and then it went also silent. And then when you're on your own, then you're stuck, like you mentioned. You know, you cannot do anything. And then with these keystrokes, you are really this is really making your independent solving your issue, and then you're on the way to go again. So it's really a pretty neat feature.
Well, thank you.
And I think for anybody who sits in a presentation where a JAWS user is going to give the presentation, it's as soon as they plug that HDMI cord in from the projector, their JAWS goes silent. So if you're ever in that situation and the presenter does that and their JAWS goes silent, you know what to tell them now. Just tell them to do the insert V, C, and hit the down arrow. And then to also add to that, the menu wraps. So the list of sound cards that are available will wrap. So if you just press down arrow, you'll eventually cycle all the way back to where you are. So you'll hit everything. And once you've found the sound card that you want to use for output, just press the escape key and it'll take you out of the layer and you're back with your speech again. So great features. We thank Mohammed and his ingenuity, and he was very, very thoughtful in how we come up with solutions. And I think they worked out fantastic. We're really happy with it.
Yep.
Oh, thank you.
And the users love it. So this is really a big highlight.
Yep.
Now, a couple of other things that we've done that I wanted to bring up. One is, if you're a user of Microsoft Office, and in particular Office 365, and you run Outlook, you will notice that JAWS is much more responsive now in Outlook 365 than it was in prior versions. And the reason the reason for this is that we basically rewrote our interface, our script interface, in how we interact with Outlook. Older versions of Outlook, we've always tried to, we've managed these scripts and maintain them, and they figure out what version you're using, and then they behave a certain way. So what we've done is we basically started over again from 365 forward. So the new scripts are only running when you're in Office 365, and things are going to be much quicker. If you run an older version of Office like 2016 or 2013, you're still using older scripts, and there wouldn't be any change there. So you'll notice a distinct improvement as you move into Office 365 with this new version. Now, the other area of significant change in this release was related to Braille, and it was Braille for multilingual speakers in particular. Many of you are familiar with the L Braille, and the L Braille is a Windows 10 computer that is styled as a note taker. So it's a note taker running Windows 10. And because L Braille is driven by the Focus Braille display, it's using a Braille keyboard to do input. Now, Adi Kushner, who's the product manager and speaks multiple languages, has a lot of customers that are speaking multiple languages as well. And whenever you're on this device, to be able to input and get feedback out of the device, whether it's an L Braille or a PC running with a Focus Braille display or some other Braille display. But in order to get the input in and out, you had to establish what language you were in the previous versions. And it was not easy to then switch to a different one, like you can with speech. You can have multiple voice profiles. Well, now in 2022, you have Braille profiles as well. And you can even set it up so that if you change the input on your keyboard to a different language, the Braille input can follow that change. So this is going to be very, very handy if you're a multilingual person. If you run across content, either output or for input, and you're a Braille user, you're going to benefit from this. I strongly encourage that you visit freedomscientific.com/training and go to the webinars page. And we just did a webinar the end of last week on Thursday that is posted now, and they'll walk you through all of the changes and how you can go in and set this up. Now, if you're not using multiple languages, Braille is going to work exactly the same way as it did before. You'll get the benefit of Braille settings moving forward in the new version, but you won't have to do anything special to set it up. It is set up assuming you're using a single language. But if you're someone who's taking another language or doing localization work, you want to go and listen to that webinar and see how to set yours up. You'll really benefit from it. So with that, Stuart, I think we'll pause. And I know this is a group that always seems to have some good questions, and there's something that we've left out. So why don't we open it up to questions?
Okay, thanks, Eric. It's a great feature set there. And Mohammed, I've been using the sound splitter already and loving it for the last couple of days. So well done. Thank you again.
Nice to hear. Thank you.
It's really great. So this is your chance to get involved. And Eric and the guys from Vispero, Mohammed and Jan, of course, are eager to answer your questions. We have chat, Alton H, if you want to put a message in. Fanula's monitoring chat, or if you can raise your hand with Alton Y if you want to ask a question in person. And I don't know if we've any raised hands or chat just yet, guys.
Question in chat, all right. Yeah.
Question in chat, okay.
Yeah, I read the chat question already. Is there a reason there's no information in about MS Teams in our popular programs? That's a great question.
Yeah.
And part of the reason is Teams is a moving target right now. So as soon as we would write a help topic, unfortunately, it would be changed. What we have included is if you go into Microsoft Teams, and you can do insert H and insert W to get keystrokes and learn some tips and tricks to get around in Teams. But I will tell you that Microsoft is, they actually made some changes, put them into Teams back in August, and they just turned some of those things back off again because they have messed things up. So it's a moving target right now, and we're trying to keep up with it. We have done webinars on Teams, and you may want to, again, try some of those. And Stuart, I imagine you guys have even done some.
We have, yeah. We did one last year. We probably need to refresh it at this stage.
Yeah, you might want to update it. It's
colleagues,
changed a bit.
Yeah, we've been.
A good question. We will get some help out there for it. And I will tell you that Microsoft's committed to it, as are we. I mean, at Freedom Scientific, Vispero, we are a Teams house now, and we are all using it. So yeah, we'll continue to make it better.
Okay, great question. Again, people can raise their hands, Alt and Y or Alt and H for chat.
And since I didn't have a good joke, maybe somebody's got one they can bring to the table.
Yeah.
Jan's always good for a joke.
Oh, no. No, the Dutch are not so good in jokes. We always like to get fun, make fun of the Belgians, but that's not fair since they are not included.
Nobody would understand it anymore.
No, that's true. Even the Belgian jokes about the Dutch, you know, they're not.
It's like the people from Long Island and New York talking about the people in New Jersey here. In the
oh
States.
yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Neighbors always make fun of one another. That's just
yeah.
Eric, Mary.
Lavelle, Mary Lavelle, from Dublin.
Has raised her hand.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mary.
Hi, Mary. I just need to unmute yourself.
Alt A.
Yes, Alt A to unmute.
There we go.
Hey.
Hey, Mary.
Hi. Good evening. I use Jamulus. It's an open source piece of software, and I would plug in an interface of a voice interface. When I plug that in to my USB, my JAWS, and it's for a choir to use with a choir. The JAWS and the choir all come in through the headset that I would be using, as opposed to initially, before I joined up onto JAWS 21, I would plug in the jack into the right-hand side of my laptop, and JAWS would stay on that jack headset. But when I plug in the USB, then the Jamulus would stay on the left-hand one. Okay, but since I upgraded to JAWS 21, they're both coming in on the same headset. And
so you upgraded to 2022 when that change came in, right?
Yes.
Yes. So Mohammed, I'm thinking that this is a perfect example of when you've plugged in that USB device, you can go in with insert space VC and press the down arrow and move JAWS back to the other sound device.
Okay.
And that program will stay on the headset one that you want.
Yes.
Great.
So this is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Example. Yeah.
Okay.
And why it's different in 2022 from 2021 is beyond me. I wouldn't have expected that.
Well, it will be interesting to check it out.
Yes, please try that with that keystroke. Insert space V,
C,
C, and then down arrow.
Down arrow.
Yep. And then call Stuart.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you have any problems, give us a shout and we'll help.
Great, Stuart. Will do.
All right, Mary. Good to hear you.
Great. Thanks.
Thanks, Emil.
We've got Martin Foden. Martin, you're free to talk.
I just have to hit the Alt and A. Don't think we've got Martin.
No, he's still muted.
There's a question in the chat if we want to do that while Martin gets himself organized. Will there be new voices for JAWS?
That's a great question. So in the initial release of 2022, we haven't changed it, but in the December or the update immediately following the December update, we will be updating our vocalizer expressive driver, and there's going to be some new changes. There'll be some different voices of the same name, but they're a different quality of voice that Serance, which is actually the company that owns Vocalizer Expressive, they split off from Nuance, and so there'll be some new voices based on their newer technology that sound a little bit better, as I understand, and it adds a couple of languages that did not exist in the current version, and those languages escape me at the moment. I believe Vietnamese is one of them, but I think there might be another one too.
That's great. Thanks, Eric.
Okay, great question. Yeah,
and
good to know.
Martin got unmuted.
Hi, Martin.
Well, maybe his microphone's not working.
Yeah, if you want to try and type your question in chat, Martin, you can do Alt and H, and you should be able to type your question in, and we'll make sure to relay it.
We've also got Julia Cosgrove.
Okay. So Julia, you might need to unmute yourself.
Right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Right, okay, my question, I've got JAWS 2022 now. Now, funny thing is happening to me. I got into Windows 10, new computer, and so on and so forth, a couple of months back. And so it's a lot better. I use an email client called Pandora, which I've used since February. It's the afterrunner of Eudora, which I've used for many years. However, what I'm finding now is if I am reading an email which I have typed or answered to with the insert down arrow or the insert to, sometimes it stops and jumps out of the program.
Focus leaves the application and goes someplace else, and if you alt tab, you come back to it.
And also, it then sort of says you cannot use. Now, I think it's the bit where you can talk to someone on another machine, or they can talk to you. It says it's not available, well, then you never even touch that. So it's sort of looking at that in some way.
Does this happen with 2021 as well?
No, I think there's more 2022, more in the last week.
Can you back up, Julia? You mentioned that something's not available to talk to another computer. Was this something in the email program, or is this something in JAWS?
Oh, that's the JAWS thing, and I forget.
Tandem?
Yes, that's it. Yes, and it says that task is not available. That
I can explain. That one I can explain, and I'm glad you raised it.
Oh, right.
So in 2022, we made a pretty significant change for Tandem so that we're using a new Tandem server. And really this was done because it's, Tandem's been around a long time, and it was time that we upgrade this for security purposes. Not that anything has happened, but you never know what could happen. And so we've made some great changes. But however, this means that 2022 people using Tandem can't talk to other versions, older versions of JAWS. Now, in order to solve this, because not everybody has 2022 yet, some people have got 2020 and some people have 2021, of course, we're going to do updates for both of those two versions. I expect those updates to post as of Monday next week. So if somebody you're trying to connect to has an older version of JAWS from your 2022, today you should just keep 2021 on your computer that you've already got, go back to 2021, and then it can connect to somebody else. But after Monday next week, there'll be an automatic update for all 2021 customers, and we would encourage them to get that update because it's going to have a lot of good fixes in it. And it will have the new tandem server. Now, if you have a 2020 customer, that won't be an automatic update, but if they would like to get it so that their tandem would then work again with newer versions, they'll be able to go to our Freedom Scientific homepage, go to downloads, and under JAWS older versions, they can find whatever the posted version of 2020, it will be the one that has it. Or they can go to their help menu and say, check for updates. And I believe it'll find the update to 2020. So anyway, that's the tandem solution or problem that we've got right now. And as far as your email client goes, I'm not sure what's going on. It does sound like something is causing it to jump out of focus from that app. I don't know it. Stuart, I don't know if you guys have had any experience with the Pandora email client. I have not.
It's my first time hearing about it as well. I think, Julia, if you want to contact our support team tomorrow, it might be the quickest way. So if you just send an email into support@sightandsound.co.uk or give us a call, and one of the guys will have a look at that, and if we need to escalate it, then we can help you.
Right, okay, I'll try that. Thanks for that.
Brilliant, great question, and good info about JAWS Tandem as well. I didn't know about that, so that's good to know.
Yeah, and we had hoped to have the 2020 and 2021 actually released, Stuart, at the same time as 2022, but it didn't work out. And we've actually been resolving, we tried to put a bunch of changes into the 2021, and every time we try to add changes in, it leads to testing and problems. And so we're back to the drawing board, and we're still fixing things and respinning. So it'll be out soon.
Brilliant. Yeah. Great news.
So Martin's come back.
Okay.
With a raised hand. So, hi, Martin.
Hopefully we can get you this time, Martin.
Yeah, he's still struggling trying to unmute.
Zoom does funny things sometimes. Even though you press unmute, it doesn't always.
There we go, Martin. Your mic's free now.
Hi, Martin.
Right. Good evening, everybody. I'm sorry if I keep going backwards and forwards, but I've got internet problems to start with. Yeah, it's
No problem.
one of those things, unfortunately. The thing I'd like to ask you, and I've found this with 2021, I don't know if it's going to be like with 22, but JAWS doesn't read certain things, i.e. it doesn't read Norton properly, and sometimes it did it with 20, it has done it with 21 a little bit as well. Sometimes you're reading an email, yeah, and it just backs up on you. So you've got to come out of email and go back into email.
So you're saying that when you're reading the email, it jumps backwards in the page?
No, what it does, it just JAWS just goes dead on you. So then it stops reading. So what you have to do is you have to come out of the email. I'm using Thunderbirds, yeah. So what you have to do is you have to come out. You have to come out right of the email and go back into it, and it'll start reading again.
And this wasn't happening in 2021?
This was happening in 2020. It was happening. It was happening in 16 a lot. It was happening in 20. It hasn't been too bad in 21. I have just downloaded 22. It doesn't seem to be too bad in that. But the other thing I was saying as well was there's certain things on your computer that JAWS won't read, i.e. my virus scan and things like that. Is there a reason for that?
Well, so there is a reason for that, in that actually accessibility is a two-way process. So we are here to make things accessible, to speak what's on the screen. But of course, for that to work, we actually need information from the applications. And if we don't get that information, or if we get very spotty information or inaccurate information, we our sort of host, right? So because we can't tell you what's on the screen because the app won't tell us. Typically in the past, this has happened a lot more and there were ways around that, but Microsoft has been tightening security. And so it's becoming harder and harder for us to sort of guess what's on the screen. And so now when we want to have an accessible app, we actually need to collaborate between the app maker and us, or the app maker will need to follow certain standards such that things are accessible. So if this happens with your virus scanner, you can contact our support, but what you could also do is contact support for the virus scanner and see if they cannot get an issue into their developers to get this application to be accessible. And I know that virus scanners are kind of notorious. Some of them are very accessible, some of them aren't. But definitely in order to get this to work correctly, we would need to collaborate, or the app maker will need to follow certain standards such that everything works as expected. So that might be I would guess the reason that Norton doesn't work quite well for you.
I couldn't have said that much better.
Yep. It takes two to tango, you know.
Yep, definitely.
Okay. So
And-
yeah, talking to the app developer is good as well.
Yep. And Stuart, I want to just take a minute and say hello. I see a friend of mine from Wisconsin out here listening in this afternoon or this evening. So I just wanted to say hi to Andrew.
Hi, Andrew, and thanks for coming to a Sight and Sound webinar. It's great. We have people
Yeah.
from the US. It's fantastic. Thank you for taking the time to join us. Okay, I'm conscious of everyone's time and conscious of Jan and Mo's time in particular. It's very late for these guys. And any other questions from any of our audience? Any queries, any comments? You can put them in chat, or you can raise your hand with Alt and Y.
When's our next get together in Dublin, Stuart? When are we coming back?
I'm working on it, Eric. I'm working on it.
Ooh.
Hopefully, definitely next year. Definitely 2022.
Excellent.
We're gonna all meet in Dublin, and for anyone tuned in Ireland, we will definitely have an event in Dublin.
Yeah, let's try and we'll get that date set ahead of time. You guys always get a good crowd, and
It's
we
very
have
much
some-
on.
we have
It's
some
very much on our radar. James and Fanula and myself are thinking about it already.
excellent.
We are, yeah. We're working on something.
Yeah, hatching plans.
Yeah.
So last shout for any hands.
This will be-
Maria.
Yeah.
Oh, Maria. All right.
There's quite a few.
Oh,
Ooh, last minute panic.
yeah. So
If you want to
Maria.
unmute yourself there, Maria, you're ready to go.
Hi, Maria.
And Mary's back again with another
Mary's
question.
back.
as well.
Okay. So Maria, you might just need to press Alt and A. Otherwise, we'll try. We go to Mary. Don't think we have Maria.
Okay, let's go to
It's too bad the moderators can't unmute people.
yeah, no, I've
Yeah, they won't let you. They won't let you do that on Zoom anymore, apparently.
Mary, do you want to unmute?
Okay,
go.
I'm unmuted, I think.
Ah, we got
We
Maria as well. So,
Got you
Mary,
both of you stay there.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I've already asked, so let Maria go ahead.
thank
Okay,
you.
sorry. I for some reason Alt A and Alt Y doesn't work, but I was wondering, I got the upgrade in the summer. I'm not sure if it was July or August, and I got it over the phone, and the lady basically said that I should get my link within the 5 working days, but I kind of took my finger off the pulse because I got unwelcome flatmates in the form of vermin, mice and rats, pest control and all. So, but I kept an eye on my email, but I didn't seem to. I got the WorldPay transaction confirmation, the card was debited, but yet I didn't get the link with the new license key. So should I give them a buzz tomorrow or send them an email or?
I'll tell you what, Maria, will you send me an email if you don't
Yeah.
mind after this, and I will follow it up for you straight away in the morning. You should definitely have got that. I'd say it just might have got lost on its way to you, but we will get it issued straight away in the morning.
Okay, thank you very much,
Just
Stuart.
send me a
forward
reminder.
the payment information and
Please,
stuff.
please, and I'll get the guys. We'll sort it out first thing in the morning.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem. Sorry about that, because that shouldn't have happened.
And Mary?
Am I open?
Yep.
You are?
Okay. I spoke there earlier on about Jamulus, this open source software that we use in our car. Within the
Mary,
quiet.
Yeah.
What happened to Mary?
Do you want to unmute yourself again?
Probably press the space bar.
There we go.
There you go, Mary. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. I spoke earlier about Jamulus. Within this screen, if you like, of Jamulus, we use it for a choir, right? So there would be across the bottom of the screen of Jamulus, there would be the individual choir people. And you might have sopranos and basses and tenors. We need to be able to adjust the sound that I can hear from them. Like, I don't want to hear too many basses. So
Adjust the volume level.
JAWS won't call out the names or is there any way around that? I can't go from person to person and increase or decrease the sound level that I'm hearing.
Yeah, so this is a perfect example of somebody who understands something about JAWS would probably need to sit down and experiment with that software.
Okay.
In general, if a sighted person without JAWS running can manipulate that software just using a keyboard, if they didn't have to touch a mouse to do it, there's generally a way that you would be able to do this also with JAWS. Sometimes it would take some scripting. Somebody might have to do something to manipulate the program, but it sounds like it's kind of advanced software for free software. But I have a feeling that you'd probably really need to get somebody that understood what they were looking at to try and spend some time with that.
It's actually a package used by bands as well, and the reason that bands like it is there's very low latency. So there's almost there's a fraction of a millisecond, I think, of a delay of the bandwidth.
Yeah, okay. Stuart, you might reach out. You know Bill in Pennsylvania?
Yes.
Dancing Dots. You might reach out to him and ask him if he or Albert are familiar with it.
Yep.
You were mentioning that it's open source. So one thing you could do, I don't know if you're comfortable with that, but it's possible. You can find where the source code for this application is actually hosted. And usually along with that source code, there's actually a sort of bug tracking system that's attached to that. And that's what the developers use to resolve issues that are reported by users. And so you could actually raise up an accessibility issue to tell them that this doesn't work for you and whether they could make it easier for you. Now it's open source, so there's no guarantee that they'll do that, but usually open source devs are quite conscious of accessibility, and so they might be able to help you there as well. Admittedly, not many people are comfortable doing that on those kind of platforms. There's no real reason why you should be intimidated. So really, if you can find the source code, go there and just talk to those people, because they usually just don't know that this is a problem.
Okay, great. We'll give that a go. And Stuart might contact those people that...
I'll contact Bill McCann in Dancing Dots, and I'll talk to you about that, Mary.
Great, thanks, Stuart. And guys, thank you very much.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Julia Cosgrove again.
Yeah, Stuart, the other person you might want to also ping on that one is Jim Snowbarger.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
He would be another one to ask.
Jim's a good guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Julia, would you like to unmute?
Yes, it was just really to reiterate what you said. You said it after I pressing and holding space bar to speak, which people might find much easier on the computer.
Yeah, that's a good tip, actually. So you can press and hold spacebar to temporarily unmute your microphone. once the moderator gives you permission to unmute. That's I hadn't thought about that actually.
Okay.
And lastly, we've got Martin again, Martin Foden.
You hear me?
We are now, Martin.
Yes,
Sorry
do.
about this, Buzz. I did say to you, things keep jumping in and out. I didn't hear unfortunately, I didn't ask you a question. I didn't hear the answer. Would you mind repeating that again, please? I'm sorry about this.
That's okay. So Norton, you were talking about Norton, right?
Yeah, about Norton. Yeah, I need to read
yes.
certain things, and also the email thing where Jaws will shut down when you're reading it, listening to an email.
Yeah, so I think that one, the email one, we need to look at. So that's probably a good one for support. If you talk to support and you can actually reliably get this to happen, we can look at it and we can see what's going wrong exactly there.
Okay.
Especially if it happens in 2022, please contact
and
us.
There are a lot of people that are using Thunderbird, so it's a good one to comment to support about.
Definitely.
Okay.
About Norton, and I will reiterate again. So Norton is actually it's an app, but you need two people to actually make an app accessible. The first one is us. We will actually provide the software to read to you what's on the screen, but the second one is the app developer. And the app developer's role is to tell us what's happening in the app, whether you've just landed on a button and what's written on the button and stuff like that. Now, if the app doesn't do that, or if it doesn't do that well, this is also what happens sometimes on the iPhone, where you will just touch something and you'll only hear button or only hear link and nothing else. So if the app developer doesn't do that well, we cannot do much to alleviate that problem. So what we want to do is we want to have either Norton follow certain accessibility standards, which do exist, and that way they can make their app accessible for you and JAWS, and we'll actually work with a lot more accessibility software than just us. Or you want to have a collaboration between us and Norton. That's actually harder to achieve. But the best way to initiate that process is to contact support for Norton. So not us, but Norton. Tell them that you have problems with their app, with accessibility software, mainly JAWS or other software if you use that. And they can maybe help you escalate to the right people at Norton so that they can improve their support for these kinds of technologies.
Right, before, sorry to interrupt you, right, what my partners just said to me, it's the pop-up bit that JAWS doesn't read. Is that the reason why it doesn't read that?
It's probably because it's not accessible. So either the pop-up comes up and the app actually doesn't tell us that a pop-up came up, and so we don't know that it's there, and we don't know to read it, or we actually do know that it's there, but the contents of the pop-up are just not accessible. So we know that there's a pop-up, but we don't know what's in there. And so those are the two main issues I think that can be there. And so if they resolve those issues on their end, there shouldn't be a problem. There are other apps that do this as well, and their pop-ups are accessible. And that's not because we did some magic, but that's because they followed certain standards that we expect from them, from apps, in order so that we can actually provide support for many, many apps without collaborating with each and every developer.
Okay, thank you. One other quick question, please. When will the next SMAs be available? Because it's obviously 2022 you're talking about. When will 23, 24, 25, when will they become available?
So 23 will release the end of next October.
Okay.
So if you think of it this way, think of it's like, the way they released the new versions of automobiles in the fall the year before, and we do the same thing with the software. So you want to make sure that if your SMA has expired, if you got 2022 and you don't have an SMA now, reach out to Sight and Sound and see about getting that renewed. So when the 2023 hits in the fall next year, you'll get it, and you'd also get the 2024 the following year, because the SMA covers a couple of them.
Yeah.
Now, if you've installed 2022, you'll see an announcement about an update scheduled currently for December 14th. That'll be the first update that comes out for the 2022 version.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because we all know that in 25 Windows 10 stops, and we then got Windows 10. And I don't know if you're aware, a lot of us, our computers are not going to be compatible, so we've got to start all over again. And what I don't want to find is what happened to me once before. I was using Windows 7 When I went to Windows 10, I had to go from 13 to 16, which cost me a lot of money. If I'd done it the other way, then that wouldn't have happened. So you could see what I want to try and do. I want to keep my JAWS up to date, so when I have to buy a new computer, that I'll be ready for it. Yeah.
That's exactly the right way to do it. And, you know, just to mention two other things while we're wrapping up here. So with the release of 2022, this version will not install on a Windows 7 operating system. We have
Windows 8, actually, both.
Or Windows 8.1. So we've ended that. So if you're going to be using JAWS 2022, you would be installing on either Windows 10 or Windows 11 or one of the latest server versions. And you can use your 2022 license with Windows 7, but you have to install an earlier version like 2021. Windows 11 we didn't talk about here today, but that is supported. Windows 11 is really just the next update for Windows 10, and they called it Windows 11. Frankly, I think they're trying to help companies sell more hardware. But in general, Windows 11 should work fairly well. If you're familiar with Windows 10, you should have a very smooth transition to get to a Windows 11 operating system. It pretty much works the same way. It looks a little bit different, but from a keyboarding perspective and a screen reader perspective, it's pretty much the same.
Thank you for your answers.
Yep.
Thanks very much. Okay. I think that's it, unless there's any more raised hands or chats.
No, we're clear at the moment.
Clear at the moment, okay. So I'm going to thank Eric, thank you so much. And Mohammed and Jan, of course, as well. Thank you to you guys for coming very late in your evening. We appreciate it.
Yep, no problem.
Always a great session to catch up with everybody and find out what's new, and all the very hard work that you guys are doing has certainly paid off, and we're all enjoying it.
Yep. If you're using Windows 7, you can't use 22.
So that's it from our webinar tonight. Thanks again to our colleagues from Vispero, and thanks, of course, to James and Fanula for helping out this evening. Much appreciated. Remember, keep in touch with Sight and Sound on social media, and you can go on our website, sightandsound.co.uk, to sign up to our newsletters and keep in touch with what's going on. And until next time, this is Stuart Lawler signing off, thanking everyone for joining us tonight, and stay well and have a nice evening.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thanks, Stuart.
Bye-bye.
Bye.